how to use your mind to get what you want out of life. So your mind is the director and the software by which you direct all of your actions, and as a result, manifest your reality, the physical reality that you see in front of you, right? So everything up to this point in your life is a direct result of how successful or unsuccessful you've been at using your mind efficiently and effectively to get to where you're at right now. So the question, how do you get what you want out of life? How do you use your mind to do that? Well, that's a good question. So there's a two-part equation to this formula here. So number one is you have to know what you want, right? Because if you don't know what you want, then how are you going to know where you're going, right? So if I say I want to make a lot of money, right? That's okay. That's very vague, but how do you want to make that money? Okay, I want to make $10,000 a month. How am I going to do that? I don't know. What am I gonna do, right? And you write those answers down, right? And it's gonna be different. Maybe you have to go to law school. Maybe you have to go to engineering. Maybe you have to start a business, right? Maybe you have to get into real estate. Maybe you have to learn about investing. Maybe you have to go to trade school, right? But here's the thing. If you don't know what you want, right? If you don't have a sense of where you're going and you don't have actionable steps that you're taking in your day-to-day life, then you're aimlessly wandering. And as a default, here's the thing. Here's the kicker to this. If you don't focus on what you want, right, and you're not taking steps to go in that direction, as a result, like I said, there's no middle ground in life, guys. You're either going one way or the other. So if you're not moving towards the things you want, right, and especially if you don't know what you want, by default, you're attracting the things that you don't want, because your mind can only work in two ways, right? It's a dualistic phenomenon, right? How your mind works. So if you're not focused on what you want, by default, you're focused on what you don't want, right? And to the degree that you're focused on what you don't want is to the degree that you'll see those things you don't want in your reality, right? Because like I said, your mind, in a way, this is arguable, and I don't know if it's proven, but don't quote me on it. But people say that when we come here, we're just a blank slate, right? So you can program your mind to whatever you want it, however you want it to work, and you can program it to work for you or work against you. So why do so many people have things they don't want in their life? Why are so many people poor? Why do they have money issues? Why do they have relationship issues? Well, it's due to what we're talking about. They don't know what they fucking want. So if you don't know what you want, if you never sat down and actually written down or at least thought of in your mind about what you want and how to get there or possible ways to get there, then by default, you're focusing on something else, because your mind's not just going to go blank, right? It's going to focus on one way or the other way. So when most people say they want money, or it's not usually, hey, I want to do this. It's usually, I don't want to be poor. I don't want to have to pay so many taxes. I don't want to be on government programs. I don't want to live paycheck to paycheck. So they're focused. You see what I'm trying to say? So their mind all day, right, depending on how bad their programming is focused on what they don't want. So how on earth, think about it, right? If you're thinking 24 hours or whatever, however many hours you're awake, 16 hours a day, if for 16 hours a day, we're talking about money here, right? You're thinking about how you don't want to live paycheck to paycheck, how you don't want to live on welfare programs, why you're fearful there's not enough opportunities, why you don't think you can make a lot of money. If you're focused on that, if you're focused on excuses and complaining and just overall have a pessimistic attitude towards money, how on earth are you going to take the correct results? Because by default, right, your mind is programmed basically that sort of thinking habit, those thinking patterns result in procrastination, result in laziness, result in not taking action, right? So your physical reality, the way you move, the way you operate in your physical reality is not conducive to making money, because your body's just following your mind, right? So your body or the activities that you do with your mental faculties are not working for you, they're working against you, right? And that's why so many people are poor, because it's like they're not programming their brain to think in terms of I want, right? So that's the first step. You have to know what you want, right? Here's the second step. So it's good to know what you want. It's good to know the exact ways that you may go about getting what you want. It's good to have monthly goals and deadlines. Great stuff, right? But you will get into difficult times where you start complaining, or you get into times where you're negative, or you have self-doubt, or you get into that state of mind where you're focused on the things you don't want, right? So that's going to happen. Now, you can be conscious of it and correct it, but here's the key. Whenever you encounter a challenge, whenever you encounter negative thinking, whenever you encounter excuses, or you encounter fear, or you're in a fearful state, or you see lack versus abundance, or you're seeing scarcity, you have to ask yourself this question: what is the solution here? That's the key, because whether we realize it or not, guys, we all have the answers to our biggest problems. Whether we want to acknowledge that fact or not is totally up to you. But the truth is that we all have access to infinite intelligence. We all have access to universal intelligence, and we can derive the answers for ourselves. But here's the thing. When you're complaining, when you're in self-doubt, especially when you're complaining, you always want to ask yourself, what's the solution, right? So if you're complaining that you don't make enough money, or maybe your job is cranking down on overtime, or maybe, whatever, when you ask yourself, what's the solution, your mind can start to generate solutions, right? Your mind, if you ask yourself, you sit in silence for a little bit, when you ask that question, it's amazing how your mind will follow up with, like, it'll just generate random things that are the solution to the problem. So for example, let's say your job's cracking down on overtime, you're not making enough, you're living paycheck to paycheck, right? Hey, go get another job. Bam, problem solved. That's the solution for that problem. I don't make enough money. I want a better job. Go get a certification. Bam, that problem solved. Right? Now, sometimes it requires you to take action, and most times it does, and it requires work, but at least you have the skill set to understand how to move and how to overcome hurdles, right? And that's what you want, right? So sometimes, like I said, it sucks, but sometimes life's not always going to give you what you want, and sometimes you have to make pivots. Sometimes you have to make adjustments, right? And, sometimes you can have hopes to be, maybe you wanted to grow in your company, and maybe you didn't get the position, right? And that was going to be your source of income, right? That was going to be your 10K a month, right? I'm using this as an example. Okay, let's say they didn't decide to promote you. Now you're not making 10K. What's the solution? Maybe I need to start a business. Maybe I need to get another job. Maybe I need to learn how to invest, right? So you might not make that 10K right away, or 2-3 months down the line, but hey, a year from now, 2 years from now, by you being inquisitive and asking the question, what's the solution, you figure it out, right? So for most people, right, they're hoping for a promotion, or they're hoping to get a high paying job, and when they don't get it, they get into a negative state. Instead, what you should do is, you can have feel a certain way about it. That's natural, right? We all feel a certain way about things that don't go our way in life, and that's totally normal. But what's not normal, what's not conducive, is accepting defeat and then not asking yourself, what's the solution? Because, hey, at the end of the day, I'll tell you this, and I'm not here to brag, but I don't care what happens. I don't care what a company does. I don't care if a company lays me off. I don't care what happens. I don't care if I don't get promoted. I don't get it. I will find a way to win. I will find a way to win. And that's how you guys got to think. You got to think to yourself, I will find a way to win. When there's no way, you create a way. If there's a strong enough, I forget what the saying is. I'm not even going to say it. But you guys get what I'm trying to say. If you have a strong enough why, you can bear any how. So you have to ask yourself always, whenever you're in a state where you're complaining or you don't like a certain how things are going, maybe you don't like how things are going in your job, you always have to ask yourself, what's the solution? And I'm mainly speaking about money here, but you can apply this to anything, right? You can apply this to anything. In your relationship, if you don't like how your woman's treating you, what's the solution? I've had times where I didn't like how my girl was behaving. She was showing up late to our dates. And I said, hey, that's totally unacceptable. I do not tolerate that. I cannot accept that from you. Problem solved. She doesn't do it. If she is, I said, you know what I told her? I said, I don't mind if you're late. I need you to let me know. I need you to let me know 30 minutes before our set time that you're going to be late, or 10 minutes before, right? Because what she was doing is she was basically texting me like 15 minutes after the set time we agreed upon, and was saying, oh, I'm going to be late. So, like I said, I didn't have to, I asked myself, what's the solution? The solution is I have to assert my boundaries, and I have to say what I will and will not tolerate. Bam, problem solved, right? So whether we realize it or not, guys, we have the answer to the problems in our life. And here's the thing. I'm going to finish off with this. No one is coming to save you. You have to navigate the problems in your life and make decisions about your life. Don't ask for the government to save you. Don't ask for unemployment to save you. Don't ask for welfare to save you, food stamps, anything. Don't ask for the president to save you. Don't ask for your parents to save you. You have to be the main driver in the driver's seat. You have to be the one driving the vehicle which is your life, right? And it feels good to take ownership. Even if you lose, or even if you're doing shitty in life, it's good to know, and I think this is key, it's good to know that you have the ability, you have the ability to change something if you don't like it. So guys, take those tips seriously, because I promise, if you ever run into hurdles or you run into things you don't like and you want to know how to do it, use these 2 tips that I shared here, and I truly believe they will help you along your path. So yeah, that's it. That's all, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you are new to my channel, make sure to subscribe. If you guys have any questions, comments, leave them down below. And as always, I'll talk to you guys soon.